I'm Kerr.
I'm John.
And we're the Lafontaines.
And you're listening to Morgan Richards
on Radio Cardiff.
Hey, I'm Morgan Richards from Radio Cardiff from 98.7 FM, and I'm very pleased to say that I'm backstage at the Clwb Ifor Bach music venue here in Cardiff. I'm joined by a band that I can only describe as Scotland's best kept secret of unique rap rock from under the storm and lighting up the background. It's of course those class kings and junior dragons from Motherwell. It's the Lafontaines.
How are you doing, man? That was a fantastic introduction.
That's the best introduction we've ever
had. That was great. Very well done.
So you guys, you right?
Great, man. We're very good. We're excited to be back here for a fourth time, I think. And we've just learned through your wonderful self how to pronounce the club's name. Yep. Ifor Bach.
Well, Britain, so things good.
Yeah, man, everything's really good. We're just this is the first date of our UK headline tour. It's the first time we went to the UK on our own right, sort of thing. We're always a support band, which is lovely because there's no pressure. Whereas this time, if no one's here, it's our fault.
We also we kind of have this expectation of following the other van about and seeing where other people set up their gear and then we follow, so it's kind of weird taking the lead this time. We find ourselves just staring at each other for a few seconds.
Being first here is very strange.
What are we supposed to be doing? We're getting there.
So guys, it's safe to say that over the last 2 years you've started building up quite a reputation, having some fantastic response from your early EPs and touring heavily around that time. With now on June the 8th you'll be releasing your debut studio album Class on 889 Records. I bet you guys just can't wait to finally put this record out properly for the people to hear it and just what you've got up your sleeves to restart next part of the career.
Yeah, man, it's we've probably been a band for about 5 years, but we're a proper band for maybe 3.5. And I think because of what we do, which is very different, there's no kind of blueprint to follow or such. It probably took us a few years to find out where we sat in this whole big industry or whatever, or where we fit in the game. And you have to kind of make your mistakes or learn from your mistakes or just find where you belong. And I think this album's a very good representation of where the Lafontaines are now. We certainly know what we are as a band. Very pleased with the songwriting and the songs. We're a well-seasoned touring band. We've played everywhere from here to America to Europe, so we've kind of worked our way up with that, and it just feels like the right time to put out a record, and we're very excited about it, man.
The album itself, as Kerr says, it took a while to find the feet, and even though there's rapping, we figured out we didn't really sit in the hip-hop scene, so to get someone to produce your music that we actually do sit in. We got Matt O'Grady, who dealt with Yumi at 6 and Don Brocco and stuff like this. So he finally managed to make us sound the way we have it in our heads the whole time. So it was nice to have it finally the way we want it.
Definitely, man. It's been unfortunate enough at times because of budget or whatever, to go and record with whoever could fit us in. And generally what happens with that is you've got kind of maybe 40-year-old white guys trying to make you sound what they think you should sound like, whereas we were allowed with Matt, like John says, just to plug in and play, and he managed to just make us sound like a band, which is what we are.
And as I mentioned, you guys will actually be releasing this album on your own record label on 889 Records. Can you tell us a bit more about that and how everything came about?
Well, basically because of the kind of situation we were in, when we recorded the album we had a lot of major labels sniffing about it. The only problem with that is, man, these things tend to go on forever, and everyone's like, oh, this is going to happen, and it's just like, at the end of the day, I just never felt that the way we would do it, the way we wanted to do it, best possible way to give it its true representation is just to really do it yourself.
One of the other reasons behind it was that usually you would rely on a record label to fund you producing the album, so you don't have a choice but to go with a label, whereas we were lucky enough to get funding privately to do the album, so there's no reliance on a label. They don't own anything. It means everything comes straight back around to us, so it kind of made business sense to just set up a small company.
And of course a few big acts over the years have collaborated rock and rap with all that, but I found that a bit of your style somewhat unique because it tends to mix the old kind of rap and current grime with popular hooks and choruses and even big rock guitar parts.
This is why we've always ended up being labelled, not even by us, it just seems to be a word that keeps cropping up. They just keep calling it a party band. It's not really a rock band. If you looked at rock bands and then looked at us, you wouldn't say it was the same. Same with hip hop, even pop, any of the broad genres you try and put it in. So eventually people have just started calling us a party band. We're just kind of liberating and that's you can get to do what you want. You're fine.
And I think the main thing is we've just stopped trying to fit into any genre. I think that instantly gives people a perception of what you are, and considering we don't really fit anywhere in there, it's just stupid to do that. You're limiting yourself, and we don't ever get into a studio to write and think about these things anyway. We just put it into the melting pot and see what happens, and over the years we've probably honed that to the point where we know when we get into play in the studio or we're going to write or whatever, what we're going to kind of come up with anyway. So we don't label it, so I'm not really into getting labelled by anything else.
And of course, as we've already mentioned, tonight is the start of your first ever UK headline tour in support of the record. But one thing I actually wanted to mention to you is that over the last few years, you've actually won quite a lot of awards for your live performances back home in Scotland, including one in particular where you were chosen to play in New York, a part of Scotland Week. I'm sure having some great years becoming a big name in your local scene and pushing out to the rest of the UK, that now with the records you just want to push out even further and show everyone what you've got in store and how you've won these awards.
The amazing thing we found out was when we played in Europe last year. So we always thought with the Scottish accents that would be a bit of a language barrier in England alone. But when you go to Germany and France and Austria and Switzerland, it's just not an issue.
At all.
And that's something we always were scared of, I would say. Our biggest fear about it wasn't if we were going to play well or if the band would make it in one piece, it was if people would understand a single word we said. It turns out it doesn't matter if they can't understand a single word we say, so that's fine, we've got over that now.
Totally.
That stopped the sort of regional barrier that we put up for ourselves initially.
Like today I just went to the post office actually to ship part of our album deal where you can buy an album and get some merch with it, and we just shipped like 30% of it went to Germany and Holland, which is nuts, man. We've been there once. So like John said, there's no real barrier like that. I think if something sounds good, then it sounds good. And like in terms of our live performance, I think we just always have a good time, and it's probably why we've kind of won awards or whatever. We've been to America and the likes. It's very good.
Okay, oh, fantastic. And guys, a couple more very quick things now before you go. Of course, one thing I've got to talk to you about is that I actually understand when you were filming your latest music video, King, in Morocco, you actually came into a little bit of trouble with their local police that ended up with you escaping from a cell and a SWAT team coming after you in your hotel.
Well, see, this story ran in the Sun, so you need to take a bit of that with a pinch of salt. For instance, there was no SWAT team. However,
The rest of it's true.
the rest of it is completely true.
The police took us away and then they were taking ages finding a translator, and the cell was like an open bit to sit in, so we just left. And then sure enough all the police turned up at the hotel as well because we'd given those details, and turns out in the end they actually wanted to help us.
Guy, they were fine in the
It
end.
was just that the guy who got us initially was really aggressive. We
was
didn't have a permit, so like
Again, down to finance, we never tried to get a permit because we couldn't afford it. And then
turns out it was free.
turns out it was free. For an hour or so, it was like we should have just went to Spain.
You were bricking it.
I was breaking them and I was like, oh no, this is rubbish.
Oh, brilliant. And with that as well, there's actually been a few more stories like that where a lot of newspaper coverage last year that you annoyed James Bond actor Danial Craig when you saw him in New York.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
That's
right.
completely true. We asked for a picture with him. He said no, so we decided that why would you say no? And then security got a bit lippy, so we all just started singing Skyfall at him.
We'd made friends with a big Colombian gang at this point.
So bad.
I wish I was making this up.
Aye.
And so there were like half a dozen of them all sitting just like screaming, having the time of their lives, and he was just in the corner with his wife. And yeah, I don't think he was that impressed. His
No.
security certainly wasn't that impressed, but we had a brilliant night.
We had a great time, man. We met like Colombian/Mexican gang we were with.
They were in New York for jeans.
They were trying to buy jeans in New York. We took them into this because we were getting taken out for dinner at this really plush restaurant, getting steaks and all this free booze. It was totally milking it, man. So they're like, yo man, we don't usually get it allowed in places like this, but like, just come in with us. Set them up with like a big slap up meal, and then it was great. It was just a great time. We just started bowing up Danial Craig.
Okay, well, brilliant, fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, that's about it. Cheers, guys, for taking time.
Thank you, mate.
With me. Best of luck now with everything in the near future, and hopefully I can catch up with you guys again very soon.
Amazing.
Thank you.